Luke Skywalker's going to save everybody?
Yeah, Disney's going to cross X-Men, Avengers, and Star Wars all in one big...
Heard. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. But you know what is happening? Big Bang Cinema is happening. Welcome to Big Bang Cinema. My name is Isaac the Taurus looking Anderson.
I am Tyler. I'm completely brown today, Keen.
And this is a movie show where we talk about movie news.
Movie reviews.
And everything in between. You get a little later and later every single week with that. I don't know how I feel about that.
I like to build the tension up on it.
Like to build the tension on it?
Yeah.
Just like I do with the ladies, but
Well, I was going to say like David
just
Fincher.
like my credit card statements, they never pay off.
Actually, I was going to say David Fincher, but yeah, yours is a whole lot better.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's better, but it's more honest.
Yeah.
But guys, speaking about honest, Jumanji is apparently going to get a sequel to the sequel that nobody wanted. What?
Please put Robert Williams in this movie.
Oh, I don't know. Could you just drag his dead corpse up there?
No, like they're gonna have like possibly like a digital cameo.
Like a Wile E. Coyote looking like Robin Williams with like some bad impressionist. No.
Yeah, they could totally do that.
Well, apparently Welcome to the Jungle is getting a sequel, and people wanted this. Apparently this was a really awesome movie. Did you see this movie?
I did.
You did? What did you think about this
It was
movie?
entertaining.
It was entertaining?
It had some funny parts. The Rock was really funny.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that are entertaining that I wouldn't necessarily want a sequel to.
I mean, it was a really funny comedy film.
Really funny. That's surprising. I mean, everything was kind of going against this movie. Everything looked like super stupid, but apparently it got really good reviews and everything. Was it basically a soft reboot of the original Jumanji movie?
It was a soft reboot.
Okay.
But they had the Robert Williams cameo in it. It had his house with his name on it.
Okay, well, that's all that people care about. They know what that is. So, it getting a sequel, what do you think that this actually has potential for a sequel, or is it just like going to be pointless?
Well, because you probably could have you can give a sequel just whoever gets the game next.
Well, I don't know. I feel like just knowing as much as I know about this movie, I know about how this movie goes. I've read a lot about it.
Because I mean, these are the characters that are in the game. You can have different people play the game, end up in their bodies.
Yeah, I just feel like it would be kind of retreading the steps as far as kind of like...
Well, I mean, you have different personalities for the characters.
Yeah, I mean...
it's the same names, different personalities because they got different people driving the vehicles.
I know, it just feels kind of like it's
Get
going...
Out.
Like, it feels like it's going to be kind of retreading exactly what happened, in the first one. It feels like that's kind of like a one-off story. First off, I didn't think they could make a sequel to the original Jumanji, but at least they made it something different, something a little bit more unique and creative. Just feels kind of like pointless.
Well, how about they up the brutal level where everybody gets shot in the leg and they got to drag themselves to like hyena territory?
Don't even know what you're talking about right now.
Make it rated R, just like shooting themselves in the leg. Or how about this? They're in the jungle, but they're like in I don't know, the Congo right now, and they got to escape before the Ebola gets them.
Well, that's called real life, man.
Yeah, like they have to fight gorillas, not gorillas, but gorillas.
Gorillas.
The ones that carry AKs.
What?
Yeah.
I got.
Yeah, okay, you finally got it, man. You finally got it.
I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jumanji sequel. Probably not a great idea.
I'd watch it. I'm gonna love it.
Oh, speaking about love it, Sesame Street is apparently getting a live-action film that we have already talked about, but get this, it's going to be directed by the guy that directs Portlandia.
I didn't like anything in that sentence you just said.
Wait, hold on. Let's break this down, okay? Not like dance-wise, because look at us. But
Yeah.
I think you know exactly why.
Actually, he could pretty much dance. I'm not lying.
The only thing I can break down is my emotions.
He could do the house party dance. I've seen you do it.
I mean, not well, but yeah. So,
jealous.
well, okay. You said you didn't like anything in that sentence that I just said. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Jonathan Crystal.
Didn't like that.
Okay. Do you know who Jonathan Crystal is?
I've seen Portlandia. I really don't like Portlandia.
Well, I'm not sure if I can ever look at you in the same way I have in the past, like this. I'm not going to look at you like this.
Yeah.
Jonathan Crystal, he directed Portlandia. He's also directed a lot of other films. So I like Portlandia a lot. I think the humor is very unique, and I think it's very creative.
Aggravating.
I think, well, I mean, it's really kind of, I can see him falling really nicely into the Sesame Street tone. Not necessarily Portlandia tone, but I can see him handling that really well. I don't know. But what do you not like about that?
I also don't like Sesame Street.
Why don't you like Sesame Street?
Never did, never have, never will.
Well, besides that, them making a Sesame Street movie, we talked about Anne Hathaway is going to be starring in it. I'm wondering how exactly they're going to go about a narrative level on this.
I think they'll have Elmo gets a gun and he just like snaps. and like he just run through like Sesame Street, just like
Maybe the actor
shoots
that
Big
plays
Bird.
Elmo. But
Yeah, they'll probably get like I don't know, like Michael Vick to play like Elmo or something, do the voice for her. But he just runs through like Sesame Street. He's got a gun. Just,
But the real
pow,
guy
pow,
that
Captain pow pow, and then like they're doing a task force to take Elmo down, but Elmo's got a vest on. They're like, oh no, our bullets can't go through his vest, and they
he's
have
going to
to.
blow himself up.
He's going to blow himself up.
But the real guy that played Elmo
See,
actually
and
probably
then
would do something.
Mandy
like that.
Patinkin comes back from the other Sesame Street movie he did. Goes a little helicopter. He's like do 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 all that, and you hear like they start playing like the CCR,
yeah.
Fortunate Son, and it's just like do 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 do, just gunning through Sesame Street.
I don't buy it. As
Like,
far
they can't take Elmo down because he's like immortal.
that
Because he's got a bulletproof vest on.
maybe a Funny or Die video, but not the real thing.
Oh, I'll watch it.
But yeah, as far as Jonathan Crystal handling this, I think that's a great move on their part. I'm excited to see what he's going to do with it. I think this is going to be something fun and maybe something that will actually be a quality and not a soulless cash grab. But Tyler, any final thoughts on this?
Soulless cash grab.
Soulless cash grab? Well, speaking about soulless cash grab, remember that movie from the 80s with Michael Caine and Sylvester Stallone? Neither do I. It's called Victory, and apparently it's getting a reboot.
This is not the arm wrestling. No, that's over the top.
Yeah, it's over the top. Yeah, this movie is called Victory, and it's about World War II prisoners of war going into a soccer match with Nazis. This is not a joke. It's real.
Oh, this kind of sounds like The Longest Yard, but with soccer.
See, well, I think The Longest Yard took some inspiration from this. Andrew Small and I were talking about this a little earlier. I never heard of this movie. I never seen this movie. But the concept sounded a lot like the Longest Yard, kind of like, we got to fight for our freedom, literally, like in a game that represents, us winning our freedom and everything. And I don't know too much about the movie, but I know for a fact it's getting directed by the guy that directed The Shallows. I believe his name is Jaime Colette Serra. Could totally be getting that wrong. Yeah.
Please tell me Colonel Hogan's in this.
Who's Colonel? Oh,
Colonel Hogan. Please tell me Colonel Hogan's going to be in it. I want Colonel Queen.
look,
as a goal.
our
goalie.
viewers are like, we have like one viewer in England, and like the rest of them are like anywhere from the ages of 12 to 22 males around here.
So no
They're
one-
not going to know what that is.
Hogan's Heroes. Oh, I mean, come on! Like they could totally do mix this in with a Hogan's Heroes reboot.
I don't think so. But yeah, I like the concept of this movie. I think now we can probably take this in a different light. I imagine back then it was probably a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, a little bit kind of schlocky. Maybe now it will be taken in a little bit more of a serious direction, even though it is kind of a schlocky concept. Kind of like, prisoners of war is fighting for their right to be free through a soccer game. And I don't know, in that movie, the famous player Pele was in it. And along with some other big name actors. I wonder who they'll cast this time, if they're going to cast like an actual soccer player in this movie. Or football player. Sorry.
Beckham.
Is that literally the only soccer player that you know?
Pretty much.
He's kind of like the Pete Wentz of the soccer world, the most overrated of all.
Because the only problem.
He's a great player, don't get me wrong.
Because the only problem, because most soccer players I've ever heard of are like South American, Portuguese, and I have a hard time pronouncing their names and remembering them.
Well, Pele is pretty simple. But anyway, excited to see what they're going to do with this. Maybe it'll suck, but maybe it'll be something cool. Anyway, time for what you came here for, the Avengers Endgame trailer. This came out this morning, and I was very, very excited about it. Yeah, so we're going to dive right in because this is going to be a big portion of our time because this is we're going to have back-to-back Marvel stuff because after this we're going to talk more Marvel. But Tyler, first off, general thoughts. What do you think about the trailer?
It looked like stuff I've seen before, and then it got where it wasn't stuff I'd seen before.
Exactly. You just described life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also I enjoyed the trailer quite a lot. I'm quite excited to see this movie. I have to say, I could, sometimes with these Marvel movies, I'm not like I'm gonna die before I see Captain Marvel, bro. I'm not that kind of guy, or I'm not like hitting people up for Shazam tickets all the time because I'm not really crazy about that kind of stuff. But as far as this movie, I'm over the moon, like excited for this kind of thing. I don't know. What's some big things that stuck out in the trailer to you that really kind of got you excited?
It's black and white at some parts.
Well, as far as kind of like the narrative of the story, what do you think is kind of like just seeing this trailer now and seeing all the other trailers? What do you think exactly is changed in your mind? Kind of like how this thing is going to go, if anything.
Actually, not a thing because I'm pretty much like like have my thoughts already built up for it. I mean, it's kind of stuff I've seen or heard of before. I guess like when it's really changed, it's like he's like, oh no, everyone's gone, yeah, because he just come out the quantum realm.
Well,
Ant-Man's like
to me, I didn't really realize. Well, I didn't know this until today. There is a student that goes here. His name is Bronson Battaglia. You guys see him on FYI if you watch all of our programming. He came up with an awesome theory that I don't think I've ever heard before, but makes perfect sense. Now, hear me out, okay?
Okay, I think I've heard this. Tony Stark is still asleep in the cave because the thing blew up and he's been unconscious for like months.
No, that would be called sucky. I think that, well, now I think Bronson told me that we were talking about which characters were probably going to bite it and which ones aren't, and it seems very obvious that Captain America will die, Tony Stark will probably die in some way, Hawkeye will most likely bite it, the ones that have been there the longest, basically. But Captain America's been the most rumored because he is like his contract's up, and that's the biggest thing.
I say kill off Thor.
I don't think they'll do that quite yet.
Because you can get another Thor, because whoever's got his hammer or his axe is going to be Thor.
Yeah, I have no idea. But as far as with Captain America, I was saying, like, well, it seems like too obvious that he would die, you know what I mean? Like, because everyone's been talking about it. It seems kind of like, like a cheap shot, And so Bronson said, well, actually, I have an idea that maybe after everything is said and done, Captain America won't die, but he will wind up going back to his time in the 40s after this is all said and done and living out his life like he should have. And like, because he belongs in that time, it wouldn't mess up with the space-time continuum, but everything that would, it would, like, he would probably stop Bucky from becoming the Winter Soldier, so Bucky wouldn't be in that universe. He would probably prevent a lot of things from happening, and also, he would get to live his life out with Peggy. And I can imagine the last shot of the movie is like a montage of all the characters after the rummage of what happened or whatever's going to happen, and maybe like a recorded message from Tony Stark earlier. It's like, we fought a lot of things. We did all we could. But at the end of the day, we're Avengers. And like one of the last shots in the movie is Captain America either holding Peggy's hand or Andrew said that knocking on Peggy's door, and Peggy opens the door and it's just her welling up and they embrace, and he gets to live his life out like he should have.
No, I don't see that happening.
Why not? See, look, it makes so much sense on a character level, a narrative level, and something that I genuinely didn't expect, but makes perfect sense.
No, because even if that was even possible, he's gonna be like, well, people need me here. I mean, totally. Look what just happened. They totally need him.
Well, I mean,
if something like that happens again, I mean, but I really do see him dying. I really do believe he is going to die.
Maybe so. I don't know.
And
I
think Winter Soldier's going to take over like they did in the comics.
I don't know. I feel like that would be a much more clever way of handling things, and I hope they do give me some surprises. But what do you guys think is going to happen? What do you want to happen? What do you think would be awesome to happen? Is there any theories that I haven't said or you guys are thinking about?
See, here's the other thing. He goes back in time and just like strangles all the villains in their cribs.
Well, I mean he's not a baby. He's not a baby murderer. I mean, you can't get too caught up in that kind of thing because then you have no movie. But anyway, guys, let us know.
He walks around and punches their mothers in the stomach.
I mean, you're the no fun police, Tyler.
What?
This is we're trying. Who cares? It's a movie. But guys, thank you so much for watching so far. We'll see what happens with that when we come back. Tyler's got some thoughts about a movie that we saw this week. Stay with us.
If you want to call it.
When it comes to culinary arts, Nash Community College is here to turn your burning passion for food into a career. Our chefs, with over 70 years of highly qualified industry experience, are here to point you in the right direction, teaching and handing down classical culinary techniques that will improve your skills and help you cut your way into the food industry. Gain invaluable experience, vital to cooking and preparing delicious food, served in a personal and creative environment. To learn more about the Culinary Arts program, visit nashcc.edu.
Hey, that looks like fun. Guys, how are you doing? This is Big Bang Cinema. My name is Isaac the Tourist Looking Anderson.
I am Tyler Keene.
No, just Tyler Keene?
I'm Tyler. I'm not happy right now, Keene.
Okay. Well, we're about to tell you why we're not happy, or I could, kind of care less about this kind of thing. But Tyler definitely has some issues, and we are going to talk about it. This is a discussion about Captain Marvel.
Well, I'll start first. I'll give you some backstory. Captain Marvel was one of my favorite all-time Marvel heroes. He was one of the most selfless heroes. He was ready to sacrifice himself on the dime, and he turned his back on his own people just to protect Earth and protect the freedoms and liberties of other people. He's like Captain America, but for everybody. He was just great, all-time hero. Well, they skipped over him. Then they skipped over the second Captain Marvel, a really strong, powerful African-American lady. Then they skipped over the other one, which was his son. Then they skipped over his daughter, she was the first LGBT hero to carry the name Captain Marvel. Then they skipped over the next Captain Marvel, which was from another universe, went straight to Carol Danvers. So
And that surprises you?
that surprises me a lot. Like she only became Captain Marvel like 2 or 3 years ago. Captain Marvel's been around since the '60s.
Well, again, does that really surprise you?
It does surprise me.
Why?
Because like they skip everybody remember Carol Danvers as either being Photon or Miss Marvel. Like recently it's like Miss Marvel, like Photon. This is the year. It's Miss Marvel, Photon, and then it's like this her time as Captain Marvel.
Well, I think this is about as safe as you could have done it to try to introduce something like this.
See, I feel like this entire movie, what was two inexperienced directors who had never had a big budget film nor an action film, and they were given a massive budget and told what they need to have ham-fisted into it.
Well, as far as kind of like what I had thought about this movie, I thought it was completely adequate, is to say the least. I'm not as well versed in the comic books. I think that what matters is the movies when it comes to this kind of thing. But you come from a completely different perspective on this. But I thought it was bland and boring, and I didn't think it was bad.
She looked bored in the movie. She looked bored, like stone-faced and bored the entire movie. I would just say without him, this movie, without Samuel L. Jackson, the movie probably been unwatchable.
Samuel L. Jackson was definitely the best part of the movie, I will say. But as far as Brie Larson's like character that she's playing, first off, I didn't really. This is just me. I didn't really feel like I knew what her powers were, and I didn't really feel like she had a distinct personality.
She felt like a supporting character in her own movie.
You are very right about that. I mean, and I wasn't like, Captain Marvel's ruined. The whole point of the movie was to show you where she's been for like the last 20 years and how she's going to get into Avengers Endgame. And that's all I really cared about. The rest of the movie was completely bland and kind of devoid of personality.
See, they ruined the Skrulls. They ruined the Kree. I don't know, the Kree's pretty dead on. They were.
I mean, it's kind of a spoiler that, like, slight spoilers for Captain Marvel. Like, it's very obvious the Krees are going to be villains because they're villains in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Well, I mean, it's just like, that the Skrulls are just as bad as the Kree are. And the whole point, the whole story was to realize that at the fight of the enemy, he himself was the enemy as well. So that the whole point of Captain Marvel was turning back on your back on everything you knew and believed to help people caught in the middle of it highlights the innocent people that are caught between other people's wars. That's the whole point of Captain Marvel.
Well, now Captain Marvel is kind of a piece of cardboard that I mean, and granted, I kind of I kind of don't care about Captain Marvel to begin with, but I know Captain Marvel, like you said, is one of your favorites. As far as where this is going to go in the future, what do you think? Like, do you want to see another Captain Marvel movie? Try to give this another chance?
I don't, but I know it's going to get a sequel. That's probably not going to be the same directors again. It's probably going to be somebody else, and hopefully it's going to be a whole lot better. And I hope just give Marvel give me a Marvel, give me a Philovel, give me a Genus Vel. I want them back. They're like each Captain Marvel was pretty much like what the great each one was the greatest heroes of their time. I mean, it's weird not having any of these individuals in there. And another part about it, another thing I'm really angry about was I believe the movie was not well made. To me, it felt like it was like an online movie, maybe a YouTube movie, or maybe like a FX on a Saturday on a Tuesday evening kind of movie. And then they had raving reviews from critics who admitted that they got velvet hammered. Which velvet hammering means is if you give it a bad review, then you won't be asked back to give a pre-screening review. You have to wait when it comes out with everybody else. So these people lied and gave it a good review, so Disney wouldn't cut them out from all the other Disney properties. Because Disney's got all these other studios now. I mean, if you get cut out of the loop, I mean, you're a critic that can only give pre reviews to like a handful of studio films.
Yeah, I know that's kind of a big struggle with these because these are like the big movies now that everybody really wants. And for a while there, it had like 79% Rotten Tomatoes and like a 32% audience score. And it was very obvious that like there was a big disconnect between these things. And I mean, you can't be too hard on these movies because you know you want to be invited to the next one, like you said.
And then they I think Rotten Tomatoes purged 40,000 user reviews, and it brought the score up.
And I think a little bit of that is just kind of like, you know, inner politics. With that
It's not even that. If you look through like the Rotten Tomatoes review, you got some people that were like, this movie, like, it was completely whelming. It was nothing exciting. It was another cookie cutter film. And I probably went to see the end. It's like, bam, fresh review. Like, ooh, fresh. I'm like, that's not a good review. Why do you give it a fresh review? I mean, even like, so they went back and the Rotten Tomatoes themselves did a bias on people's reviews they turned in.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't. It wasn't a bad movie by any stretch.
It wasn't good either. It was. I would just say this is right above probably Thor: The Dark World. It's not as bad as Thor: The Dark World, but it's probably right above it. It's probably on the list. It's probably really close to the bottom.
I don't know. Well, just kind of wrapping this up. If you were to give this movie a 1 out of 10, what would you give it?
I would get like a 5.8, 5.4 out of 10.
Okay. I'm kind of around you. I'm like a 6 out of 10. It was fine for what it is. It doesn't really have any sort of like spunk or like, you know, uniqueness about it. It was just, it's there, and I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again.
And they threw a lot of member berries in it too.
Well, it wasn't like, oh, look, it's the 90s. Like, you know, it wasn't all that kind of thing.
You remember Blockbuster? There's Blockbuster. Hey, you remember Radio Shack? She's buying stuff out of Radio Shack. Hey, you remember Street Fighter? There's Street Fighter.
Yeah,
Remember?
I thought the I'm Just a Girl fight was kind of
oh my gosh.
bad.
See, I got No Doubt that I hate No Doubt. I mean, I hate No Doubt.
I just thought it was a poorly placed song.
I mean, it was just like, what? I mean, it would have been neat if like she knocked him down. Like, I hit the guy and he like hits the record player and it plays. I'm like, I could have rolled with that. Not a good idea. Not a good song.
But they're like on an alien ship and doesn't match, and you know, it's weird.
And then it's just like, oh, what's up with that? I mean, and then she goes like, I mean, this movie to me, it feels like the writers. It was bad writing. The production wasn't really good, and the directing was bad. So I felt like the people who wrote and directed this didn't read it, didn't watch any of the Marvel films, just watched Dragon Ball Z. Because she shows up, turns into Super Saiyan at the end, the hair turns gold, it stands up, and she's floating, all the little energies around her. She flies around, blows up ships with a Kamehameha wave, saves the green Namekians, sends them back home, and she can go fight a big purple guy and try to revive make a wish to revive all the rest of the people who died. I'm like, this is straight up Dragon Ball Z.
Well, either way, it's kind of a very inconsequential film. I don't think either of us were crazy about it, but what do you guys think about it is the biggest thing. We want to hear what you guys have to say at facebook.com/Studio67NCC. Love to hear what you guys have to say about anything that we talked about, but specifically about this. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you tune in next week every single Thursday from 4 to 4:30. I'm Isaac Anderson.
I'm Tyler.
You guys stay lovely now.